We are on page 59 and 60 of Math for Trades, talking about installing carpet. So this is something that I did in my previous life, and one of the things that my responsibility was is to work for a carpet company. I had to go into houses and measure the rooms for carpet so that the company could give them an estimate, give the customer an estimate on what it was going to cost to lay the carpet. So if you look at this picture here I have on the screen, or page 59, it has all different sizes of rooms and configurations of rooms, which is very, very normal when you're measuring for a carpet. And so what I was expected to do was come up with the total amount of square footage so that the company could then give them an estimate on what it was going to cost to carpet. So that's what we've got here. We've got like 5 random sized rooms. And the first one, they are making it in a very simple rectangle so that you can do that. So what you're doing is you're just taking 6 times 3 1/3 yards. And carpet is measured in square yards normally, although I have seen it sold in square foot. By the square foot at Home Depot, but it used to be it was in yards, so it doesn't really matter as long as you're measuring either in yards or feet. But since this is in yards, let's stick to that. So it's 6 yards times 3 1/3 yards. So let me make this picture smaller and kind of get it over here. So you're just, for one thing, some students will take 3 1/3 and change that to an improper fraction, which would be 10/3, and then multiply that by 6, because length times width gives you the square footage of a rectangle. And then that's 6 over 1, so we've got 60 over 3, which is equal to 20. Some students will change that 3 1/3 to a decimal, then multiply it by 6 and get their 20. Either way is fine, doesn't really matter. You've got to convert it one way or the other. Okay, so the second one here is a little bit different shaped room, and it is a little bit different in order to figure this out, because you not only have to, in order to figure out the square foot of this, you've got this weird shaped thing. So what we normally do is we take it and break it into 2 chunks that we are able to find the square root of each chunk and then add the chunks together. So we've got a 3 1/2 yard by, so 3 1/2 by 5. That will take care of the square footage of this. And then the other piece is 2 1/2 by 3 right here, and that will take care of this section right here. So we take 3 1/2 and we're going to change that into 7/2 times 5 over 1, because that's 5 is a fraction. That gives us 35 over 2. Then this one here, we get 2 1/2 is 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5/2 times 3, and that gives me 15 over 2. Add those two together, since they both have, or since our denominators are 2, we just add the numerators together, which is the 35 and the 15, and we get 50 over 2, and that reduces to 25. So that odd shaped figure there is 25 square yards. And we do the same with 3, and if you notice here 4, we do the same thing, only we've got 6 yards times 6 2/3, and this is 2 yards by 2 yards, and this is 4 yards by 3 1/4. So again, you're going to convert 3 1/4 to either 13 over 4, 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13 over the 4, or we can change the 1/4 to 0.25. So you just take your calculator and go 1 divided by 4 if you want to change that to a decimal. And 6 2/3, it would be 6 times 3 is 18, plus 2 is 20 over the 3, so 20 over 3, or you can write this as 6 2/3 is a decimal, 6.67. So either way you want to do that is just fine. So that's the way you measure carpet. So we go to the next page, page number 60. Let me kind of get this out of the way here. So page 60, Charles installs wall-to-wall carpeting in a rectangular room, and it's always a good idea to draw your pictures. And so nice for me, I can just draw my picture like that. And we've got a 6.5 yard wide, and it is 4 yards, or 6.5 long, 4 yards wide. What is the area covered by the carpet? This times this will give you the area covered by that carpet. The next one says that Charles is in the same house. Let's keep that rectangle the same. So he's in the same house and he carpets another room. In that other room, well, in fact, let's just make another room here. And this other room is 5.8 by 4.2. How much less is the area covered by this carpet than the one we did in problem 5? Okay, so the problem 5 one was 26 square yards. So that's where we put yards, and we put a 2 up there for square yards. Now we find out what the 5.8 times the 4.2 is. And I'm just going to do this the long way rather than using a calculator, just because it's always good practice, especially if you don't remember how to do this. Okay, so we're going to multiply those. 8 times 2 is 16, carry the 1. 5 times 2 is 10, so there's 11. 8 times 4 is 32, carry the 3. 5 times 4 is 20, 23. And that gives us 6, 3, 4, 2. And again, we have to figure out where to put the decimal. We've got one space here and one place value here. So 1 and 1 is 2, so that means we move the decimal over 2 places. So that one is 24.36. And the question is not asking for the number of square feet, it's asking the difference between this number and that number. And you should get 1.64 for an answer there. Okay. So number 7, let's just go ahead and look at that because that one is a little bit tricky. During the same period of a week, Charles worked a total of 35 hours. Of this time, 24.5 hours were spent installing carpets. 10.5 hours, so this is to install, and this is travel to and from the client's homes. What percent of Charles' time was spent traveling? Well, you take the time that he traveled over the total time. I'm sorry, that should be a 35, not a 30 whatever. Okay, so I'll put a 35 there. So then you get your calculator and you divide that out. It ends up being a number close to 30%, or it will be 30%. So that's how you find the percentage. You take the percentage of what they're asking for over the total number. If you want to know the percentage of the hours to install, you take the 24.5 over 35. Okay, so go ahead and finish out these problems, 8 and 9, and that'll be done.